Hello, people of the world watching new vehicle reviews on the internet. Welcome to this, the 2025 Lexus RZ300E, the luxury version of the Solterra in BZ4X, but with an L on the grille that glows. So today I'm going to get this thing up in the air, we're gonna nerd out in the tech specs, see how it's constructed, and then go give it the beans. It's like Ibiza, but with legumes. First things first, Lexus. You might as well have vinyl wrapped this. This would be understandable in like a $20,000 Corolla, but on a Lexus model, I expect better in the paint department. Very slick flat floor on the rear diffuser panel though, little winglets, the grill for the speaker. Up above this plastic though lies nothing. They do use a lot of seam sealer though, I like to see that. Because this is the simpler 300 model, which is a single front motor for front wheel drive. Out back, the RZ utilizes a multi-link rear suspension, partially stamped steel and tubular with a little plastic aero shield on the spring bucket link. Also, rear aluminum knuckles. It's paired with a set of fixed rate, made in Japan Takiko rear dampers. The rear anti-sway bar, which is mounted up to the rear subframe, measures in at approximately 22 millimeter in diameter. The Lexus RZ300E, chassis code EB10, is built on Toyota's E-TNGA platform, and this luxury trim of the 300 weighs in at 4,332 pounds with a 56 to 44 front to rear weight distribution. Moving up into the center of the vehicle, it's a pretty rugged shield that protects the battery. It looks like waffle chips. Some plastic cladding on the side, very well corrosion protected by the look of it, but then again, salt water goes wherever it wants. You can see this thick pad right here for jacking the vehicle up. Speaking of the battery, up above the shield is a 72.8 kilowatt hour, 355 volt lithium ion unit. As far as the transmission goes, since this is the front-wheel drive single motor version of the RZ, it has a single-speed reduction gear incorporated into the motor housing with the inverter. It's a 3-shaft type unit with a 13.786 final drive ratio. As far as ease of maintenance, you're not gonna get a look at anything. It's got a metal shield right here. It's pretty stout, actually. As is the hairy cardboard. What the hell? Being that it's an EV, it does have an electric power steering rack with 2.81 turns lock to lock. Up front, it utilizes a McPherson strut style front suspension. Again, with aluminum knuckles up front, easy for maintenance. The ball joint is removable from it, as well as the fully boxed steel lower control arm. Pretty stout front axle on this thing. It's about as big around as a breadstick. Hence why it probably says HD on it. Toyota. Again, paired to those Takiko sourced coilover front dampers. The front anti-sway bar measures in at approximately 29 millimeter and change diameter. Up in the front, heavy duty thick black plastic under shield. Got some golf ball dimpling in it. All right, time for the braking test. Nothing behind me. Ready, set, and go. Wow! Spicy! A little bit of shimmy. The tires were a little loud, as was the robotic whales in the dashboard for the ABS. Stopping distance, for as heavy as the vehicle is, not bad. People of the internet, it has begun. The giveaway on my 1983 Datsun 280ZX. There's no purchase necessary to enter or win. The full rules and details of the giveaway are listed on my website, sarentuned.com, where you can also subsequently go to purchase merchandise. Every dollar spent gains you an entry to win either this car or a cash-only prize option if you don't want the car. And yeah, back to your regular scheduled program. That braking was just made possible in conjunction with regeneration from the electric motor thanks to a 2-piston front caliper with a 328 millimeter or 12.91 inch front rotor. The wheels, these are an optional set of 20 by 8 inch alloys wrapped in a set of two 35/50 Dunlop SP Sport Max 060 tires. While these 20s look pretty, there's a massive controversy with these, which I'll get to in a little bit. Inner fender liners, hairy carpet. And as far as ride height goes, it's about a fist width. It's a lifted hatch bubble. Again, not a fan of the texture on the black plastic flares. It looks like vinyl wrap or just a ton of orange peel. The vents in the front bumper cover are not functional. Front facing cam, and honestly, the texture on the front nose is not as bad as the flares or the rear lip, but still it's quite a bit. Not only do the side skirts have that heavy texture, but it's also kind of wavy in some spots as well. The upper strut mount in the rear is aluminum and more of that hairy carpet underneath here. Ride height, about fist, same like the front. Out back, you go down to a single piston caliper with a 12.5 inch or 317 millimeter rotor, but things get spicy in the wheel department because it's a staggered offset. You get a 20 by 9.5 in the rear with a 255 45 20-inch Dunlop stretched over it. Really aggressive look to this too. I'm surprised on front wheel drive they went with wider in the rear. In the name of science, it is now time to give this thing the beans. First, a bolstering assessment. I mean, it's got some stick to the seat because this one has blue suede interior with cream accents. They call it macadamia nut and thunder. Nut thunder interior. I think I can adjust my bolstering though, not less lumbar. The nut thunder treatment on the seats carries over onto the door cards as well as the dash. What I did find weird is there is no glove box on this. There's just this weird mesh fabric. The seats are both ventilated as well as heated, and the steering wheel is heated. They are three-way memory. As far as drive modes go, there is no physical control like Lexus used to do the bull horns up on top of that gauge cluster. You have to go into the screen, tap on the little car picture and select drive mode. You can then select from normal, Sport, which also puts a red halo around your gauge cluster. Eco, Range, which basically just turns off your HVAC. Or Custom, which gives you options for powertrain, steering, and air conditioning. I'm going to select Sport. There is a physical button for the traction control, surprisingly. As far as the drive selector knob goes, it's just actual metal. It's very detailed. You rotate that for reverse. Sounds like a casino. And turn it to the right for drive. I do have some flappy paddles in the back of the steering wheel that turn with the wheel. Those are for adjusting your recuperation. Unfortunately, on the 300e, you don't get the controversial square steering wheel, which I thought was kind of neat. And we'll see if this thing will do a launch. So, ready? Go. No. I was like ready for the torque and spaceship noises, that's a plus. Yeah, you don't get an instant shove of torque. I was bracing for it, but it's just kind of smooth, non-dramatic and linear. Hood pop. Does this thing have a hood popper? It's got a two-tone hood. Not really heavy, nor is it light. It's kind of in the middle. No hood strut. Does actually look like a real engine bay despite being an EV. Underneath the head of the 2025 Lexus RZ 300e is 1XM, which is a permanent magnet synchronous electric motor that produces 201 horsepower and 196.4 pound-feet of torque. 0.4 matters when you're hauling around that much weight. You can see the inverter is smack dab right on the top right here, easy to access. Does have an electronic brake booster, easy to get to. A traditional 12-volt battery. Right in front of it is the relay and fuse box, robot spaghetti. The big union block for the coolant hoses and the expansion chamber number 1. Coolant expansion chamber number 2. Notice there's 2 different color coolants for the different systems. This one is for the traction motor and battery, which leaves this for the, heater core? Is this thing got, well, that's weird to use as coolant for the heater core. I mean, it's getting plumbed into the firewall where a heater core would be. That's weird. Digging a little bit deeper in the motor bay of the RZ, unlike a lot of dedicated EV vehicles I've reviewed lately, the RZ looks like it could also house an internal combustion engine under the hood. I mean, the strut towers are fairly far apart, giving you plenty of room for a transverse front-wheel drive internal combustion engine setup. And there's no like plastic cubby to store things in here. I mean, you'd have to disconnect a bunch of spaghetti and hoses, but I'd imagine this would all just drop out the bottom if you want to do extensive heavy maintenance on this, just like an internal combustion engine. The entire hood is painted gloss black. It's not just the top. Well, I may have harped on this thing a little bit in the paint and trim department. The mechanical aspects, the stuff that actually matters, does not seem like it's lacking in the build quality department. So that's good to see. Beans. Spaceship beans. I do appreciate when an EV makes spaceship noises. Just kind of makes you feel like you're in the future more than in an appliance. Oh wow, this thing is clearly highly aerodynamic because you can definitely hear the wind noise from my GoPro. As far as handling goes, it wants more. I was not expecting that. I thought this was gonna be void of any performance whatsoever just based on the acceleration of it, but handles nice so far. Tires go a long way, obviously, but those Takikos are doing a pretty good job. They're not adaptive, but I mean, this thing's not a lightweight. Weighs about 400 pounds more than my Bronco. Yeah, good grip, considering it's only front-wheel drive. I was really starting to get disappointed on this from driving around in city traffic just to and from my shop and my house. I have to say, it's a different animal out here on a windy road. I'm genuinely not feeling the over 4,000 pounds, especially around corners going over bumps. Usually that's where you notice it the most on an EV. And this is not low to the ground either. I wanted to be super harsh and critical of this thing because it just felt super soul-sucking appliance in the commute that I've been experiencing with it to and from, which has its right to exist, but it has a little bit of playfulness to it, cornering wise. See how the brakes do? All right. Aggressive. Spaceship sounds. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about going for the all-wheel drive version. I feel if you're gonna get the all-wheel drive version, I'd kind of go for the Subaru Solterra, even though this is far more luxurious on the interior. But I think all you really need is front-wheel drive on the Lexus. It doesn't shove you in the seat. It's not very exhilarating in the torque department. But then again, the type of person that is buying this car doesn't want to get motion sickness from just lightly accelerating it. So I can see why the performance feels restricted. It feels like it's capable of more, honestly. The steering feel is neither vague nor is it performance inspiring. It just is doing a function, and it's doing it as it should. Now, as I started filming this about 5 or 6 minutes ago, I turned off my air conditioning after having it on and getting it nice and cold in here because I wanted to see how well this was insulated. But I've been driving for 6 or 7 minutes now, and it's still somewhat comfortable. So that is good that it's well insulated, which coincides with the whole point of the range mode, which turns off the climate control in here. I wouldn't really call this a hatch, it's more of a lift back, but storage wise, also it says Lexus instead of an L. You can see my 2 big camera cases in here, and there's still a lot of room left. The charge cable that it comes with is both level 1 and level 2 compatible. There's a little cubby underneath here to throw your charge cable in. There's a little charge outlet and a plastic hook. There's a slot for a mitten. As far as the back seat goes, it's actually a nice ambient in here with the weird roof that goes opaque to clear for your shade digitally. If you press the sun in the car button, it uses robot magic and it makes your roof opaque for a built-in shade. If only the Volvo EX30 had this feature built in. Plenty of leg room back here. Same with the sides, I don't smack my head on it. It's weird that the pillars are black, but the roof itself is cream. The rear seats are heated, as well as there's dual USB-Cs, AC power inverter with no ground terminal. The fabric is very soft. It's kind of like one of those couches in a living room that you're not allowed to go in, except for if you're an important guest that you have maybe once every 10 years. It's kind of neat that the carpet in here is blue like the fabric. cream leather at the top, as well as the armrest, and then all blue suede. Tons of suede in this interior. You know what I will say though, as nice as the fabric is in the interior, the seat cushions in the rear and especially the front are not that comfortable. Actually, your butt will start to fall asleep after about an hour. Armrest, it's kind of hard. It's got 2 cup holders. Does the seat recline? They do. That's good. At least the back seat reclines. It's probably because it's shared with a Subaru product. Just like the front, you get a little electric popper for the back door. Hands down, the highlight of the luxury trim spec is the fabrics that are used all throughout the interior. The 1800 watt, 13 speaker, 12 channel Mark Levinson sound system is about as good as it gets in a car audio system from the factory. Get a wireless charge cubby down inside there, and this, pretty sure this is real wood. It's got some, you can feel the grain. Robo Park, which is probably not available out in the middle of a field. Plenty of cameras built into this thing, as well as the golden eye view. Can you change the vehicle color? Yep, and it's got the 2-tone paint configurations. There is physical dials for the climate control, and you can see your temperature in the center of it. Plenty of USB-C ports, Robo Fold mirror. Inside the center cubby is, because there's no glove box, that's where you store your owner's manual. Kind of hard to capture this on camera, but the piano black trim in the center is actually clear plastic with piano black underneath it. As far as the gauge cluster goes, you can see the main portion of the screen here in the center, and unfortunately it does not move the dial over digitally like you get in some of the older Lexus models. I currently have this thing in sport mode, as you'll notice by the spaceship noises, but I'm gonna put it into range, which did not add any distance to my battery. 150 in sport, 150 in range. Sorry, I can't film that one driving, obviously. What I can do that drastically alters the range, however, is turn on the air conditioning, which is something you're always gonna have on if you live in the state of Arizona. That now drops my range by 18 miles. 18 miles of range lost for comfort. The other issue is these optional 20-inch wheels. Those, depending on the situation, you'll lose up to 42 miles of range. So for comfort and convenience combined, you essentially lose 60 miles of range on this EV. As far as the price goes, the RZ does start in the $40,000 range for the front wheel drive 300. Where it starts adding to the price though is when you go for the luxury model like this. And then if you want the extra performance, you can go up to the 450. As far as charge times goes, I will put those on the screen so you can compare against other robot cars. And that leads me to the #1 controversy with this car. The 2 main reasons people choose a Lexus is comfort and style. Well, with an EV, you're losing almost a quarter of the range just by adding some style and having the comfort of your air conditioning on, which leaves you with a maximum range of about 180 miles on a full charge. But again, range is really relevant to the type of person that owns this vehicle. If they buy it and they have a short commute every day, then 180 miles range might be plenty for them. So what this is a car with a very specific tailored purpose. It's for a very specific person that this will fit perfectly for. And that, especially if you're a car enthusiast, is a good thing to have. We're losing out on bugs flying into our eyes, and that bug is literally in my eye. Apparently, I had to pull over. I have a moth in my eyeball. I literally had a moth in my eyeball. Apparently Lexus has attack moths built in that if you say anything negative about their vehicle, they'll fly into your eyeball. It's an excellent appliance. And that deserves to exist just as much as a single cab, short bed, 4x4 pickup with a V8 and a manual transmission deserves to exist. But it doesn't. It is now time to give this RZ300E some score, starting with the bean score, the assessment of the feeling you get on your gut. There's a fly touching the back of my leg when you get the beans. And it's getting a rating of, I don't know if that was a fly or a bee, it was cold. I don't know how that's possible. Next is the cookie score, the assessment of value. And as this luxury model of the 300E is concerned with a couple options added to it in the mid 50s, it gets a rating of Followed by the wrench score, the assessment of ease of maintenance. And as this thing is concerned, it gets a rating of. Next is the squid score, the assessment of handling, and it gets a rating of. And lastly is the penguin score, the assessment on how much I personally like a vehicle, and the RZ300E gets a rating of. It's not really a type of vehicle I would personally be interested in, and compared to some of its competitors, that doesn't help that rating also, but this might be exactly what you are looking for, and who am I to say what you can and can't like? So, yeah. I'll see you soon with another review. Bye!